Resourceful Designer, episode 127, 10 Things to Avoid While Running Your Freelance Design Business.
Welcome to the Resourceful Designer Podcast, offering solutions to streamline your graphic and web design business so you can get back to designing. And now, your host, his favorite dive is the cannonball, Mark Dickout.
Welcome to the show. I'm happy that you've plugged me in your ears and that you're dedicating a little bit of your day to listening to me speak and hopefully help you along with your design business. Now, I have what I think is an interesting topic to share with you today, and that's 10 things to avoid while you're running your design business. Now, I got this idea after reading an article on Medium, and it's an article put out by Michael Schultz, who's a designer based in Berlin. And his article, 10 Things You Should Avoid Being a Freelance Design Starter, kind of gave me the idea for this. So I reached out to Michael and said, Michael, I'd like to do a podcast episode, not taking his idea, but using it as a foundation for my own idea. And Michael wrote back, giving me his blessing, so here it is. Now, I will include a link in the show notes to Michael's article in case you're interested in reading his version of 10 Things You Should Avoid Being a Freelance Design Starter. Or if you want to just check out Michael's stuff, his website is typelover.de. So that's what I'm going to cover today. But other than that, it's been a good week for me. Things are pretty steady. I've got a few different jobs on the go. I haven't picked up anything new in the past week. I thought I had one, but it fell through, but that's just the way it is. You win some and you lose some. I'm really looking forward to my Lex logo. It's been a few weeks, actually, probably a couple of months since I've actually had to design a logo for a company, and I kind of miss doing that. So I'm hoping the next people to contact me, it's for a logo design, but I'll take whatever I can get. Now, before I get to today's episode, I do want to share a resource of the week with you. And this week's resource was one that was shared with me by Chris. Now, Chris reached out after I shared Naomi's resource from a couple of weeks ago where she shared sharpen.design, a website that'll let you choose random design ideas if you want to design something. Well, Chris had a similar site. He actually sent me two, but I'm only using one as the resource this week, and that's dailylogochallenge.com. Now, like the title says, each day they send you an email with a fun new logo design challenge for you to try. And then you can share your designs with the community for feedback, and that'll help you grow as a designer. So if you go to dailylogochallenge.com, you can sign up to their email, and that'll send you 50 days of design briefs. Now, I don't know what happens afterwards. I imagine after 50 days, you can re-sign up. But it's a neat little concept there, and I want to thank Chris for sending that one in. I had a look, and I thought it was pretty cool. So anybody who's trying to build their portfolio or just trying to get better at logo design, this is a great way to do it. And they have some pretty detailed briefs, and it's designing logos for some pretty big name companies too and stuff. So, and of course, none of these are real jobs. They're all just for you to try, but it's something fun to give a go. So that's this week's resource of the week, dailylogochallenge.com. And now, 10 things to avoid while running your freelance design business. In order to run a home-based freelance design business, you need to know what sort of things to do if you want to succeed. But you also need to know what to avoid doing so that you don't fail. The two go hand in hand. I mean, you've done it. You're running your own design business, or you're starting your own design business. It's an amazing feeling, isn't it? The freedom and the power that running your own business gives you. Now, of course, the counterweight to that is the responsibilities and the pressures you face, because everything when you're running your own business is on your shoulders. When things go right, you feel wonderful about it, but if things go wrong, you have nobody to blame but yourself. But when done right, running your own business can be the most satisfying occupation there is. Just ask any successful entrepreneur. Now, when it comes to starting a home-based business, most people will read up on how to do it, research all the things they need to get done, make lists upon lists of all the things they need to do in order to give themselves the best chance for success. And that's how it should be done, and I hope it's the way you did it. However, what often happens along the way is that people pick up bad habits, and those bad habits can affect you, and they can affect your business in a negative way. So I wanted to share 10 things you need to avoid while running your freelance home-based design business. Number 1, avoid slacking off. One of the biggest obstacles to overcome when running your own design business is the illusion of the freedom it brings. Now, don't get me wrong. Setting your own hours and taking time off whenever you want without having to ask permission is a definite perk when it comes to freelancing. However, I did say it's the illusion of freedom, and I said that for a reason. Freelancing doesn't mean less hours and less stress. In fact, most of the time it's the opposite. Remember, you are running a business, and that's on top of the designing you're doing for your clients. And that means your responsibilities are now doubled, especially when you're just starting out. You may find your social life suffering as you devote countless hours, evenings, weekends, all of it, just to get your business off the ground. So in order to run a successful home-based design business, you need to avoid slacking off. Number 2, avoid a lack of direction. Maybe running your own home-based business has always been your dream. Perhaps you ended up here unexpectedly, maybe through a lack of employment, stuff like downsizing or whatever the case may be. Maybe it was thrust upon you and you find yourself freelancing as the only option. Regardless of why you're doing it, you need to have goals if you want it to succeed. Now, I did discuss goals for your design business back in episode 55, resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 55 of the podcast. And with goals, you need to determine what you want to accomplish with your business. Do you want to conquer a particular niche? Do you want to become known for a certain skill set? These are all things that you should know going in. It's nice to have design work that pays the bills, but if you don't have goals and you don't push yourself towards those goals, you will not improve as a designer. And as a design professional, you should have the mindset that design can change the world. And the only way to do that is to set goals, grow your business, grow yourself as a designer, and don't get left behind. Avoid a lack of direction. Now, number 3 is avoid isolating yourself from other designers. Face it, you sit in front of your computer designing away. You work on amazing things for your clients. Of course you do. They put their trust in you, and it's your responsibility. However, I just mentioned growing yourself as a designer. How can you improve yourself if you're not communicating with other designers around you? There's only so much you could learn from articles and videos and even, yes, podcasts. No, you need people that you can bounce ideas off, get real criticism from, people who are not afraid to tell you when you're going in the wrong direction. And I'm not talking about your clients. Sure, clients can give you valuable feedback on what you're doing for them, but they have a stake in the game, and they'll never be able to view your work with the critical eye that you need in order to improve your skills. No, what I'm talking about is your peers, other designers, people who not only understand what it is you do, but they understand how you go about doing it because they're in the same trenches as you are. One of the biggest mistakes anybody working from home does is not keeping in touch with other designers. You need to discuss design ideas with other people. You need to get critiques from other people. You need to solicit business advice from other people. The more designers you're in contact with, the better. If you need, join the Resourceful Designer Facebook group if you're not already a member. There are a lot of amazing designers in there that can help you in this aspect. So whatever you do, avoid isolating yourself from other designers. Now, number 4 is avoid being exploited. The problem with running a home-based design business is that to many of the people you know, it's not a real business in their mind. They imagine you as someone who sits at home binge-watching Netflix and maybe occasionally designing something whenever somebody calls you to do something. To them, it's almost like designing is your hobby, and you're lucky enough that, well, sometimes somebody will pay you for it. Because of that perception, you will get people, and when I say people, I'm including friends, I'm including family, and so forth. They will be asking you for favors. They will ask you to design something easy, in their words, something that they expect, it's free of charge, or at least for a very minimal fee. After all, it shouldn't take you too long, right? Plus, they're helping you out, aren't they? Don't fall for it. Yes, it is okay to design your sister's baby announcement cards as a gift to her. But if your brother, or maybe your Uncle Joe, or your old college roommate, If they ask you to design a logo for their new business that they're starting, they need to pay you for it. Give them a discount if you want, but let them know you're not at their beck and call. You are running a business and they will be treated as clients. If you're not sure where to draw the line, look at it this way. If they are asking you to design something that could either directly or indirectly bring them money, and this includes charities raising funds, then they should be paying for your services. So avoid being exploited. Now, number 5 is avoid being underpaid. Another big issue when starting your own design business is not having any idea of how much you should be charging. In most cases, designers way undersell themselves, and it not only ends up hurting you, but it ends up hurting the industry as a whole. And it doesn't matter. Even if you're a new designer fresh out of school, your skills and your knowledge are still valuable. So seek the compensation you deserve. Find out what other designers or other design studios in your area are charging and try to fit in line with them. And remember that it takes a lot less effort for you to land one client while charging $60 per hour, let's say, than it does to land 4 clients while charging $15 per hour. Not to mention, one client at $60 per hour, you can devote more time on, which means you can make better designs, which will improve your skills as a designer and will increase the demand for your abilities. Now, for more information about what you should possibly charge, read the blog post I wrote a while back. It was entitled, "It's Time to Raise Your Design Rates." And you can get to that post at resourcefuldesigner.com/raiseyourrates. Or you can listen to episode 83 of the podcast, Setting Your Hourly Design Rates. And that's at resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 83. Avoid being underpaid. And number 6 is avoid taking on every project. It's a fact. We're humans, and human nature is to want to please others. So when a new client comes along, or maybe an existing client has a new project for you, your instinct is to welcome them with open arms. This gimme, gimme, gimme attitude is great when you're just starting out, and you can use all the work you can get. But as you grow, and as you take on more clients and more work, you'll realize that not every client or not every design project is a good fit for you. You need to be comfortable turning down work. It may sound like a foreign concept to you, but you need to determine if the project offered is right for you or not. And if the project is not right for you, then it's okay to turn the job down. There's an entire podcast episode dedicated to this, episode 42, at resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 42, which is titled, "It's Okay to Say No to Graphic Design Work." Have a listen to that episode and avoid taking on every project. And number 7 is avoid rushing. As a home-based designer working for yourself, things can get stressful, especially when jobs start to pile up. And instincts will tell you to pump out as much of that as you can in order to lighten your load. But in doing so, you're actually compromising your creativity. Design concepts need time to germinate. The more time you take thinking about them, the more variations will come and go from your mind, allowing you to narrow down your focus and allow you to create the perfect solution to the problem. Now, in order to allow yourself the time needed to do a job properly, you could pad the time frame that you tell a client. If you think a job will take you, say, 3 days to do, then tell the client it'll take you 5. This will allow you some extra time if you need it. And if you happen to complete the job in 3 days, your client will just appreciate you even more for it. Yes, there will be projects that need to be done rush or in a short time frame. But remember episode 71 of the podcast, Good Design, Quick Design, Cheap Design, Pick 2? If you need to rush a job, then that means you're either producing subpar work or you need to make sure that you're being properly compensated financially for the extra burden of turning that job around quickly. But your best bet? Avoid rushing. Now, number 8 is avoid being over-accessible. Unlike traditional 9-to-5 jobs, home-based designers are, well, home all the time. And that knowledge will often lead clients to expect you to be available whenever they need you, regardless of the time or day. Now, it's okay if you want to work evenings and weekends, but do you want clients reaching out to you and expecting replies during those times as well? Don't you want to have some sort of life? You need to set boundaries from the start. Let clients know when they can contact you and let them know how they can contact you. If you have a business phone, it's not okay for clients to contact you on your home phone. Let them know in advance whether you will respond to them on social media or not, and so forth. Set your ground rules. Remember, this is your business, and your clients are just that, clients. They are not your boss. You don't work for them. You work on your own terms, and you get to decide when it's appropriate to communicate with clients and when it's not. Avoid being overaccessible. Now, number 9 is avoid overworking. In number 1, I talked about how you should avoid slacking off. Well, the opposite is also true. Without a regimen of a 9-to-5 job, many freelancers or home-based designers tend to overwork themselves. They tend to work longer hours than an agency designer or an in-house designer would. And working long hours adds extra stress and could compromise your creativity and could actually lead to burnout. A healthy social life is important for anyone, especially somebody who spends a lot of time during the day alone. You need to get out and interact with people if you want to be happy and be a healthy designer. So enjoy your weekends, enjoy your evenings, spend time with family and friends. Separate your work and your private life. By doing so, you will be helping both your business and your personal life succeed. So boost your motivation and avoid overworking. And finally, number 10 is avoid the status quo. As a designer, you are a critical person by nature. You never settle for what's good enough when you know that you can do better. It's what makes you great at what you do. And it's the reason clients keep coming back to you. You are a problem solver. But the key thing to remember is that problems are not always correctly defined. What I mean by that is a problem that a client comes to you with may not be the actual problem you are trying to address. For example, a client may tell you that they want more visitors to their website, when in fact, the problem is they don't need more visitors, they need better qualified visitors to their website. Anytime you're presented with a design problem, there is always 2 options you can choose. You can give the client exactly what they want, or you can give the client what they need. Giving the client what they want is the easy route, but it doesn't really help you stand out from all the other designers out there. By digging deeper and giving the client what they really need, you'll not only be making a great name for yourself, but it'll be helping your business to succeed. So anytime a client gives you some sort of brief or gives you an idea for what they want designed, question the problem you face and see if there's something more you can provide other than just the solution that they're asking for. Don't limit yourself by simply following orders and following the briefing word for word. Running your own home-based design business opens up a whole world of possibilities for you. So take advantage of it and avoid the status quo. So those were my 10 tips of things to avoid while running your freelance design business. Now, I would love to know what you thought of these tips. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are there other things you think should be avoided when you're running your own business? Let me know by leaving a comment for this episode at resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 127. Now, normally at this time, I'd share a question of the week with you, but my mailbag is empty. I don't have any questions to share with you this week. Now, I do apologize if you have submitted a question and I have not answered it. I did recently do some changes behind the scenes and switched my email and that over. And there's a possibility that in the process, I might have lost some emails. I don't believe I did, but if it did happen and you submitted a question for the podcast and I have not answered it, please resubmit the question. I do apologize, but I would love to answer your question. And if not, if you do have a question and would like me to answer it on a future episode of the podcast, please visit resourcefuldesigner.com/feedback and submit your question. I love answering them, but right now I've got nothing. But I will share my latest iTunes review with you, or I should say Apple Podcast reviews. They really don't like us using the iTunes name anymore. But this review came in from the USA from Nick De Palma. It says, a fun, funny, and always useful series of designer stories. Whether you're a junior designer or an executive creative, an employee, freelance, or an entrepreneur, you will either learn something new or be reminded of the methods and principles your ego made you forgot. A fun, funny, and always useful series of design stories. Thank you, Mark. Well, thank you very much for that review. I love getting these things, reading them, seeing what people think of the podcast. And if you would like to leave a review, visit resourcefuldesigner.com/iTunes, which will redirect you to the iTunes store in your country where you can leave a review for the podcast. So thank you very much for tuning in this week. Just want to give a quick shout out to Pamela, the studio owner level supporter on Patreon. Pamela and I have been discussing or having our monthly meetings to help with her design business, which is one of the perks of the studio owner level. Now, if you would like to support Resourceful Designer, whether you want to pledge $1 per month or more, you can do so by visiting resourcefuldesigner.com/Patreon, and that's Patreon, and check out the various levels for the different amounts pledged. So thank you very much for tuning in this week. I was so happy that you were able to join me. Until next time, I am Mark Decote, wishing you all the best with your graphic design business, and as always, reminding you to stay creative.
Thanks for listening to the Resourceful Designer Podcast at resourcefuldesigner.com.